We often describe death as a universal equalizer, the one moment where the king and the peasant finally stand on the same ground. But in ancient Egypt, the afterlife was anything but equal. It was a strictly pay-to-play system. Eternity, in Egyptian mythology, functioned as an exact mirror of their mortal economy. The same rigid class structures and financial barriers that defined life followed you into the grave. Pop culture often mislabels the Book of the Dead as a collection of dark curses. Looking at the dense hieroglyphics on this scroll reveals its true nature, a bureaucratic rulebook for the deceased. The text served as a map, outlining the specific checkpoints, hidden traps, and literal tolls a soul had to navigate to reach paradise. Achieving eternity had less to do with the purity of one's heart, and everything to do with having the financial means to navigate these rules. At the end of the journey sat Osiris. He was the final judge of the afterlife, essentially acting as the CEO of eternity. But direct access to Osiris was impossible. Before a soul could reach the throne, they had to clear a lower-level administrative roadblock. The Egyptian afterlife was a gated community, and the ultimate test was proving you belonged at the front gate. Anubis served as the critical subordinate to Osiris, functioning as the front-line toll collector for the underworld. When a soul arrived, Anubis followed a strict protocol. He conducted an inventory check of what physical items the deceased managed to carry over from the living world. He looked for the divine currency, gold, treasures, and expensive pre-purchased spells written by priests. This divine expectation faced the reality that the majority of ancient Egyptians lived in severe poverty, possessing little more than their tools and their labor. The demand for physical wealth at the gates of the afterlife created an immediate crisis for the lower classes. The system was rigged against them before they even arrived. We see the administrative process here on this papyrus. Anubis stands at the center of a scale, waiting to process the incoming soul. Passing required a transaction. The deities watching the scales expected an offering to balance the record and allow the soul forward. For the poor, the rule was absolute. If a soul arrived with no gold to offer, Anubis simply refused to address them. He would not open the gate, leaving them stranded in the darkness between worlds. In this system, being ignored at the gate was a death sentence for the soul. Without the wealth to start the process of judgment, a person was effectively erased from the eternal record. This left grieving peasant families with a dilemma. If gold was the only way into paradise, how could they save their dead? The wealthy used canopic jars to preserve mummified organs, ensuring their physical body was ready for the afterlife. Poor families repurposed these jars for a different kind of survival. They packed them not with organs or gold, but with everyday agricultural grain. By doing this, the lower classes used their only abundant resource to bypass the divine bureaucracy. This substitution presented an argument to the gods that a peasant's literal labor held the same value as a pharaoh's gold. Burying grain was a message of love from the families left behind, a defiant attempt to pay the toll for someone they couldn't bear to lose. The Egyptian afterlife was designed to keep the poor out, but the grain found in these jars proves that human beings will always find a way to